Hi, this is Eric here. My presentation topic is investigating how rhetorical structuring supports stance taking in the hypernews of explanation essays by associate degree students from the business discipline. So here's my agenda. I'll first briefly talk about my inspiration, what leads me to this research of a punch. Okay, and I will also briefly talk about the theoretical framework and the analytical framework for analyzing the student's texts, those of rhetorical relations and appraisal. I'll then briefly talk about the research design for analyzing the body paragraphs of students' explanations, and then I'll briefly talk about the findings, including the common rhetorical relations identified in the student's text. And I also look at the attitudinal meaning that are included in the hypernews positions supported by the rhetorical relations of evaluation and interpretations. I'll then wrap up the presentation by raising more questions as to what makes the hypernews punchier than the hypernews. So this is my initial questions when I come across my research topic. So that's that one word called punch. I found it when I read about dominating prosody, as the unfolding text will accumulate evaluation across the text and more evaluative meaning will bundle, or the end of the text, commonly called topic and concluding sentences, or in the technical terms, hypertheme and hypernews. And I also came across the word punch in another study by Jim Martin in 1995 on modality metaphors and how the alignment is shifted across the unfolding text. So the question in my head is, aside from the textual prosodies that contribute to the punch of the textual sites of hyperthemes and hypernews, how is evaluation rhetorically structured or logically structured towards the hypernews that results in a stronger punch? As Suhood in her 2010 works that says the dominating prosody in the hypernews will have a stronger punch that moves the alignment of the community along. So here are the theoretical frameworks for understanding the logical flow of interpersonal meaning. So I used RST, rhetorical structure theory, and attitude from the framework of appraisal. So the idea of rhetorical structure theory is similar to logical semantic relations and taxis, in that each clause or each text span would have a certain kind of weight, in that the core meaning or the text span that have a stronger weight with more essential content would be considered nucleus. And a text span with coherent content in support of nucleus would be regarded as satellites. So that would be just like hypothetic clauses, giving circumstantial information to support the main clause or the matrix clause. So I have an example here extracted from the student's text. It says, by constructing an artificial island to provide ample development area. So this is a phrase that we call maybe a circumstance, maybe denoting the means of doing something. And then the main clause would talk about the effect or the result. These superior new offices and companies can sustain the past and help to achieve more space for other expansion in the future. And you can see the two clauses in 14 and 15 would have a similar weight and joined through coordinating conjunctions. And this kind of relation will be called multinuclear relation. And the linkage or the relation between the prepositional phrase or the phrase that suggests the circumstance or means of doing something would serve as a satellite supporting the text span 14 and 15. And this is what is called the nucleus-satellite relations, in that the satellite orbits the nucleus by giving supporting information. And then I'm sure you're familiar with appraisal, in that it categorizes the attitudinal meaning as well as the meaning for indicating intersubjective positioning and the resources for grading the interpersonal meaning or ideational meaning through graduation. But the focus of this study will be around the use of attitudinal resources. So I will briefly talk about attitude. So the attitudinal resources represent the positive and negative values of emotions as affects, behaviors as judgment, and things as appreciation. And attitudinal meanings can be modified through graduation, in that graduation resources can upscale or downscale these evaluative meaning. And these attitudinal meanings can be inscribed through the explicit coding of the resources through typically adjectives, or maybe you can also use adverbs or even verbs or nouns to indicate or denote explicit meanings, attitudinal meanings. Or you can invoke attitudinal meaning through graduation. So this is one main strategy used in academic writing, by invoking attitude through graduation. So in terms of the relations between rhetorical relations and evaluation, Trnavac and Taboada did some research using the computer-assisted approach to look at whether there will be changes of the attitude in terms of polarity in a relation such as concessions with markers such as but and conditions such as if or unless. The present study will aim to investigate changes in evaluative types with respect to rhetorical structuring. And the focus would be how the final comment in each body paragraph will be rhetorically organized and consolidated in the hyperNews. So I collected 10 associate degree business 5-paragraph essays of explanations, meaning that they either talk about the factors of a particular business or finance or human resources management phenomena, and they will talk about the factors or the effects of the phenomenon. And these 10 essays achieved high scores, especially in the body paragraph sections, for their logical flow and evaluation. So we can hypothesize that the logical structuring within these body paragraphs would facilitate the final evaluation as they wrap up their ideas in each body paragraph. 30 body paragraphs were extracted and analyzed with RST and appraisal, in particular attitude and graduation for inscribed or invoked attitude. And out of the 339 rhetorical relations, elaboration, conjunction, and the relations of cause and result are prominent relations, and they amount to 55.7% of all identified relations. So I'll first talk about cause and result first. Cause and result can be further categorized or divided into volitional cause and non-volitional cause, volitional results and non-volitional results. But to simplify things, I would combine them and discuss them together. So mainly, cause and results are to denote the cause and effect relationships between the two text spans. Like this example, Hong Kong suffered from insufficient island, which leads to serious housing problems. So in this case, the satellite would serve as a result supporting the nucleus action, because the main clause would usually contain the more essential information. So in this case, the nucleus would be the main clause, and which contains the cause, and we have the result in the relative clause. And then elaboration would be the most commonly found relation in body paragraphs, because the function of a paragraph is to elaborate on the topic sentences. So that is not surprising to find a lot of elaborating relations in the body paragraphs. And these elaborating relations would serve similar functions as elaboration of logical semantic relations, in that the satellite would provide specific details with, for example, examples and explanations. Okay, like defining key terms or explaining the argument in simpler terms, restating, and so on. So like this one. Being a slasher has many working experiences, useful and technical skills, and so on. This would be the nucleus, and they would take the initiative to work hard as the tasks are related to their interests. So this serves as an explanation of what it means by being a slasher. Okay, they would take the initiative to work hard as the tasks are related to their interests. And we have also a lot of relations that have to do with conjunction. So this serves a similar function as addition in logical semantic relations, in that it serves to connect multinuclear arguments. It's common for us to add 2 to 3 points in a body paragraph, right? So in this case, the conjunction relation will serve to connect the points. For example, it will increase the confidence of consumer in the products and attract the fans to buy it, and is commonly signaled by markers such as moreover, and we have a moreover here. The words and phrases such as will increase the action of consumers who are interested. So in this case, conjunction relations would be regarded as the kind of multinuclear relations, while elaboration and cause and effect or cause and result relations will serve as nucleus satellite relations. So these findings are important because we want to know how the paragraphs or effective paragraphs are expanded rhetorically, and these relations tell us that it is important for the writers to supplement their arguments or the topic sentences with specific details. And not surprisingly, when it comes to explaining the cause and effect of a phenomenon, it is important for the writers to be able to link the ideas through these relations. For an argument with a number of subpoints, it's important for them to signal where they are going to shift or to move on to the next point, so as to add the key points supporting the main arguments. And then, of course, essentially, you need to use the cause and result relations or the internal cause and effect relations to justify the comments in the hypernews. So the next part will be about the particular textual position, the hypernews, and how evaluation or how the attitudinal meaning is supported by the relations of evaluation and interpretation. Okay, so it is important to differentiate evaluation here from what we mentioned about attitudinal meaning. Evaluation and interpretation would be the rhetorical relations that lead to the final conclusion or the final comment in the hypernews. Okay, as the section heading suggests, evaluation and interpretation relations are most frequently established in the concluding components of body paragraphs. And by evaluation, it means the satellite would assess the nucleus using the reference frame similar to that of the nucleus to increase the reader's acceptance of the nucleus. Okay, so I will show you 2 examples in the following slides to explain, hopefully more clearly, what it means to be evaluation and what it means to be interpretation. And by interpretation here, it means that the satellite assessing the nucleus using the reference frame other than that of the nucleus to increase the acceptance of the nucleus. So in this slide, we have a sample paragraph with the final comment in the hypernews relating to the rest of the text with an evaluation relation. So let's take a look at the attitude first. The attitude meaning included here in this paragraph would include increase, attract, and attract, of course, would be the positive and inscribed appreciation. And we have increase as invoked appreciation, as with this one. And we have an instance of interested as affect. And then, as the writer sums up, the hypernews seems to function to resonate the evaluation in the preceding text. It says it will increase the scale of healthy food in the market by the marketing strategy. So it seems it's just repeating what has been evaluated as a kind of summary. And you can see the token, the positive appreciation invoked in this comment, increasing the scale, meaning the growing significance of health food in the market, for example. And another example here we have to do with an infrastructure project in Hong Kong called Lantau Tomorrow Vision. And you can see a number of invoked appreciation through graduation, such as several job opportunities, a lot of businesses with statistics, with figures, 200,000 diversified jobs, and so on. So all these instances are invoked, but then you can see at the end of the paragraph, the writer wrote, as a result, the employment rate could be raised to an inconceivable extent. So this is the first time we see the inscribed appreciation here. It is to give explicit value to the evaluation. It seems to interpret or to give a comment what it means when we have lots of jobs created and the scale expanded to 80% of the central business district. So we have the inconceivable extent as the inscribed attitudinal meaning here to give the explicit value to the invoked evaluation in the preceding text. And in terms of interpretation, you can see in the unfolding text we have a few attitudinal meaning, such as advantage, as appreciation, maybe judgment, a group of enthusiastic capital market elites, so they are judgment values. And all the paragraph is talking about is the advantage of using big data. And at the end of the paragraph, there seems to be an explicit comment from the writer, from the author. Accordingly, it is optimistic that local companies will have a better competitiveness than other companies. In this case, the interpretation would be the writer gives a personal comment or to give interpretations that may not be relevant to what the evaluation tries to say in the unfolding text. Because we've been talking about advantages and perhaps summarizing the paragraph with the appreciation better, which is also intensified, better competitiveness would be just fine. But then the writer added his or her personal view, commentary, to interpret the evaluation across the text. So the rhetorical relations will serve to modify the attitude according to the findings that we have in this presentation, and it corroborates the research by Trnavac, Das, and Taboada, in that evaluation and interpretation relations do not flip the polarity of evaluation. It seems to reinforce the evaluation in the unfolding text. They serve to echo the evaluation, explicate them, or add an extra comment from the writer's perspective. So to wrap up, I'm going to throw the question at the audience to hope that we could have some advice or comments from you, how we can move on with the research to see how hypernews would be more punchy than hyperthemes. And as a kind of summary inside of the text, the concluding sentence or even the conclusion paragraph would serve to summarize everything unfolded in the text in a kind of summary. But of course, aside from being a summary of the content, the concluding sentence or the concluding components of a text will serve to consolidate the writer's comments or stance. Perhaps it would be good to look at punch as a result of reinstantiation, in that other resources are co-articulated, including engagement, whether the writer is committed or how committed the author is to his or her comment. or whether the evaluation or the attitude is further intensified or downplayed using graduation resources, or is the comment targeting a specific or a generalized, generic or abstract participant? Ideation would also be at play. So the future directions would be revisiting the notion of coupling and commitment. So to see that what kind of language resources are at stake when it comes to expressing the attitude of the writer. So what is the target of the evaluation, and how much meaning is put in that particular textual position in order to give the final comment of the writer's viewpoint. So here are my references, the main references that I have used so far. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you. So take care. See you.